This has been speculated about, Liz, for quite some time. What do you make of this announcement?
Exactly. I think it's no surprise. Bret has been there. He came in actually through a collaboration-oriented acquisition. That's clearly a direction that they continue to invest in, most recently with the phenomenal Slack acquisition, the biggest in their history. So no real surprises for most that he's now being elevated yet again to the co-CEO.
I actually asked Bret Taylor this very question about 6 months ago on the show, whether there was any truth to the rumors. Take a listen to what he had to say then.
It has been speculated that you are the heir apparent to potentially the CEO job at Salesforce. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I mean, I can't comment on that, but I will say, we actually talked, I think, just a couple of weeks after I sold my company Quip to Salesforce. And I can't say I imagine sitting in this chair right now as COO. And it's been by far the most fun time of my career. And both my relationship with Marc, which is amazing, he's a mentor and a friend, but also just being at this company right now. As I said, to be able to provide digital technology to so many companies who absolutely need it right now is the most privileged position I could be in, both as a designer of software, but also as someone who has formed great relationships with so many of our customers. So I'm really happy and obviously can't comment on that rumor, but I'm very happy in the job I'm in right now.
Bret Taylor handled the Slack acquisition almost entirely, which was an incredibly large acquisition. Even Marc Benioff told me that. But how do you think they're going to divide responsibilities? How will this co-CEO role actually work? Let's remember this happened before with Keith Block, who was also promoted to co-CEO, and that didn't last too long.
That's right. Well, in general, most companies don't have a co-CEO. You saw that at their competitor SAP for a while, and they reverted back to a single CEO. But likely Marc will move on to other things, right? His real passion is so much greater than this, very successful cloud computing company. There are so many other causes that he lives for and that he promotes. And so likely I would see over time a gradual increase of Bret's responsibilities so that Marc can go on to some of those other activities that he's interested in, and that he's also been very successful in really changing the world in a lot of levels, whether it's the 1-1-1 model or, of course, him and his wife, what they do for healthcare and the hospital and just so many different organizations that they contribute to.
So what do you make about the forecast? I mean, do you have any concern? This is a company that is competing in a world of software giants and commanding a premium price.
Exactly. So, Salesforce, first of all, they're very aligned with what we see today. Companies are reinventing themselves. Cloud increased and accelerated during the pandemic. They are right there. They are the original SaaS company, the SaaS poster child, and they're very much thought of as a platform to enable a company's digital transformation. They're also in the world of customer, which we've seen a lot of investment in, and increasingly in the world of employee, all areas of growth and investment. Salesforce over history has had a lot of ups and downs with profitability. This is normal for them. They spend a lot on sales and marketing. Some of that has been because they're paving the way in SaaS. They've had many unprofitable quarters. They've had great profitability sometimes. So, I'm not a financial analyst, but I don't see that as overly concerning. They invest a lot and they do spend a lot more than a lot of other tech companies do in many different areas. So again, this is the norm for them. I think longer term, what we see, they're broadening out the portfolio. They're appealing to more and more companies. They're now catching the next wave of the trend, which is the industry cloud, partially through velocity, but also their own investments. And then finally, they're expanding geographically. So, there's certainly a lot of room for them to continue growing. And they do tend to have these sort of cycles in terms of the profits that they are able to report.
Speaking of big enterprise, you are actually joining us from Las Vegas, where AWS Reinvent is happening. AWS, of course, also has a new CEO, Adam Selipsky, who we spoke with just a couple of weeks ago. This was his first time giving the big keynote, filling Andy Jassy's big shoes. Take a quick listen to part of what he had to say.
The cloud has become not just another tech revolution, but an enabler of a fundamental shift in the way that businesses actually function. There's no industry that hasn't been touched and no business that can't be radically disrupted.
Liz, under new leadership, can Amazon maintain that lead in the $64 billion cloud market that is getting bigger, but with Microsoft and Google nipping at their heels?
There are so many parallels between the Amazon story and the Salesforce story. They both pioneered the markets that they're in. Of course, they are great partners. And really that culture, that commitment to innovation. Amazon famously takes a sort of start with the press release approach, think about the end result you want and work backwards. They've been very famous for that. They do that with their partners as well. They really are just the king of innovation. And they continue to really breed that. They also have a very customer-centric culture, which is a winning strategy these days. Obviously we don't know a lot about how they'll perform under the new leadership, but just here at the conference, yet again, and I've been to many reInvents, so many new announcements from IoT to their various industry clouds like healthcare, as well as all of the different capabilities for developers. And, they just continue to impress with their pace of innovation and their creativity, their own agility, which are all the properties that we as Forrester think about when we think about a successful company in any sector.